Welcome. My name is Antonella Vázquez. Thanks everybody for being so on time. My name is Antonella Vázquez. I am a legal attorney of Los Árboles, Tulum, and I'm going to present just the start of the meeting. Most of you I've seen it's their second or their third meeting, so you all somehow you know the process. No, we will try to keep it very focused on the agenda. It's a long agenda, but it's an agenda that covers the needs of this meeting. And we're going to start with the review of the agenda. I would like to ask, most of you speak English. We should do it in Spanish. Los que hablan español no hay problema, porque podríamos...
Hay cosas que si no la...
A lo mejor no entendemos, pero la preguntaremos.
Sí, enseguida pregunten, porque si no lo hacemos lo hacemos en dos idiomas, los traducimos, ¿no? The first item will be the review of the registry and attendance list, presentation of two scrutineers. Los dos escrutadores que se nombran. We have Montserrat Beltrán, who was on the table outside, and Margie, that are going to count how many lots represented we have. This is scheduled as the third call, so with whatever number we have a valid meeting. So that's going to be item number 1, that is basically covers with the attendance list you signed. On the second item will be the report on activities performed by the administration in the first 6 months of this year, the financial reports and administrative work, which include status of sales, report on status on infrastructure, current construction homes, community center program, security measures and maintenance of grounds, which will be covered mainly by Hunter. Presentation and approval of the Homeowners Association budget for the rest of 2013. You approved the first part on the beginning of the year. Ratification of the condominiums Los Árboles Tulum Association as the manager. Discussion and applicable approval of new members of the Vigilance Committee. 6, report on progress on septic committee. 7, reports on non-profit committee activities. 8, short review of Los Árboles Tulum building guidelines. 9, presentation of homeowner survey results. 10 is different issues and discussions to vote. 11 is report on collection, delinquent dues, predial, and homeowners association quotas. 11 will be discussion and comments on items already presented by homeowners. And 13, establish a date for the next meeting. And 14 is by legal requirement, establish somebody that will go before the notary and formalize it if it's needed. So we're going to start with number 2, as since the condominium association is the management, Greg Schnur will be presiding this meeting, will be taking the lead on this meeting and giving it the microphone, the word to whomever has to present the information. Patricia Saucedo is acting as the secretary, and any questions will go step by step. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonella. Well, first I wanted to say that things have gone extremely well here in the management. Margie, as the interim manager, has integrated very well with Monse, and with Hunter, and with staff from Austin. Things are going very well. I couldn't imagine it going any better. I would say we're maybe halfway there. So in lieu of that statement, I'm going to turn this meeting over to Margie, who is thoroughly prepared and ready to speak on these issues. And so without any ado.
Hi, everybody. I'm Margie Smith, and I'm acting as the transitional administrator. I've been in the job since March, and my husband Todd Wall and I are the owners of Lot A9. We're planning to build in about a year and a half or so. We're living out at Los Árboles now, in Randy Peake's house. And I just wanted to let you all know that we are videotaping the meeting, and if there's anybody who objects to being videotaped, please say so now, and we'll put you in a part of the room where we won't see you with the cameras. Everybody good with that, or any issues? No? Okay, good. All right, so first I'm gonna call on, I don't see Cameron. Is he here?
He's not here.
Not here, okay, well, let's go to Hunter.
Well, that's on sale.
Yeah, on sales. You have a handout on sales. Thanks, yeah, which,
Is
okay.
that something you want me to handle that?
Yeah, you can handle that.
Yeah, camera's not here, I'll step.
Yeah, okay, here you go.
Okay. It looks like, to me, that we have 16 lots available at this point in time. There are 79 lots that have not been cashed out, who we did financing for. And there are 125 lots that have been fully transferred or in the process of transferring their titles to them. And we have one that's pending. I think there's a sale they're on the fence on it. But that's basically where we're at. We got 16 lots left. And that seems to be changing almost weekly. We've had a pretty good attrition in the last like 4 or 5 weeks. I think we were at 21 and now we're down to 16. So we're almost sold out. So that's the report. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
Great. Quick question. Now, when you transfer the title to the owner, what's the procedure? What goes on there? You have to get a lawyer and all that?
You don't have to get a lawyer.
Uh-huh.
I always suggest that you get a lawyer.
Yeah.
But I've been transferring land and buying land for many years, and this is what I do. Although I have a lawyer, and she does handle everything for me. But if it's my first time, what I would do, I'd go to a lawyer, I'd get a fee. Those fees range anywhere from $500 to $1,500 for total representation. Then what you do is you decide how you want to take title. If you want to take it in the name of a corporation, or you want to take it in the name of a bank trust. Now, there's a new wrinkle in Mexico. Our new president has just passed a law, and I think it's actually, I think there's going to be a lot of controversy on this one. Every lawyer you ask is going to have a different story. But what I think is it's well on the way. Well, maybe you should just speak to this.
Okay, very quickly.
Because we're about to be able to take land in our own names at some point in time.
Basically, there is a proposal to amend the Constitution. As you know, this is from the Constitution. There is a proposal. It was submitted, and 15 days later, part of the Congress approved it. So everybody says like, wow, if it's 15 days, then it's done in this year or in 6 months. But then it's stuck there. So the word from people inside the Congress is that it's going to pass, but it's not going to be as quickly as that moment made us felt. You know, we have the other part of the Congress, and then the governors, legislaturas. We have a lot of people to, and that motion passed, and immediately you could hear ignorant people saying, "We're gonna give our land to the foreigners." So you always have those reactions, and so it will happen. I personally think it will happen. I don't think it will happen 2013. In April, when that part of the Congress approved it, we thought it could be at the end of 2013. I don't think so, because now nothing has moved. I think it will happen, and what will happen is basically that they'll amend the Constitution and banks will not be required. Right now, you have all the rights of an owner, but you have a bank there to whom you pay a fee for nothing. And if you need a power of attorney, if you have to sell, you have to wait for the bank to give their blessing and pay a fee. We will get rid of that. The process, the little details, obviously we don't know. No? The only what they say is it's going to be for residential purposes. And you will have still to sign a document where you recognize yourself as a Mexican in case of any legal contingency, which is normal. You're not going to call your governments in the US or in Canada and whatever. That's the normal thing. That's the plan. No? If you bought into a corporation, then you're in a different case. This will be for people in a trust with their names as beneficiaries, and it will be, the title will be amended somehow to get the bank out to be owner John Smith. But if it's a corporation, you have another entity buying that. It's gonna be a dollar story.
I hear that there is a condition that you cannot rent it. As a foreigner, you can buy it, but you can rent your property.
Oh, no.
No?
Again, the details we don't know because the main thing is amending the Constitution. And there's going to be then a regulation saying how far, but no, if you can rent it right now, the idea is that this will give you not more rights. It will make it easier for you to buy, to sell, and obviously we expect that it will be more investment in Mexico because that was something that some people didn't like.
Recurring expense, annual expense.
Annual expense, no?
Right.
So, you should expect there's going to be a lot of controversy and a lot of opinions over that issue. This government seems to be going in the direction of allowing foreigners to take land in their own name. And I think there's enough support for that, that after 10 years of trying to get that with this new party, that's probably going to be happening. But that's like the price of gold. I don't know what's really going to happen. So, having said that, specific to your question is, you need to go to an attorney or you need to make an informed decision about whether you want to use a bank trust or a corporation. You're going to find a lot of opinions about those types of things. Then what you need to do is schedule the closing. A closing takes about, we see an average of 2 months if there are any hitches. You provide all of your documents, you apply to get your trust if that's what you're going to do, or you form your corporation if that's what you're going to do. You go to the notary public, which is the only place that a transfer of real estate can happen. You pay the notary public, you pay your attorney, you pay a 3% transfer tax, and you're done. You got it. And then it takes about 2 months to come out of the public. A lot of people close and say, where's my title? You would expect in the United States you get your title the next day, your deed. They go down, they register, they hand you your deed, and you're done. It takes about 2 months here. We try and watch them pretty close, but we get pretty good service from the people that we use. The notary is really good. I've heard people going as long as 3 to 6 months. Yes?
Oh, I just paid off my lot 2 months ago. I met with Ernesto a couple days ago. Do I have to come back?
You could give him a power of attorney.
Okay, I don't need to physically come back.
No, you don't need to physically come back.
So Greg, the 3% transfer fee is what you paid for the lot?
Those, yeah, whatever you paid for the lot
Yeah.
is going to be on your deed,
Yeah.
and you're going to pay 3%. It's a 2 and a 1%.
Plus the lawyer's fee is $1,500.
Yeah, whatever you negotiate with your attorney.
Oh, okay, and notary.
No, that's the 3%. The 2% is by law, and he's saying an additional 1 expenses, notary fees, etc.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? All right.
Next item is
All right, after sales, the next item is, Margie, I think Hunter's
report
got
status
infrastructure.
and infrastructure with Hunter.
Hello, for any of you that don't know me, my name's Hunter Berry. I work in the office with Monse pretty much every day, and together she and I manage the day-to-day operations of Los Altos Tulum, help a lot of you guys, and I inspect homes and run some maintenance teams and a construction team. But I'm here most of the time. If you ever need anything, please feel free to contact me. I'm going to go ahead and talk about B through F. A lot of it kind of interweaves with each other. With regards of the current status of infrastructure, we're getting close to being done. All of the roads, all the Mampos 3 has been finished for a while now. Just yesterday we finished capping Calle Quetzal with the final layer of dirt. We have installed lights out in the front gate. I don't know if you've come in at night now, but now you don't have to drive past it, you see it. Most of the street signs within the community have spotlights on them. There's little LED solar-powered lights. I'm missing about 4, and those will go in as soon as I can get the lights. We're well underway at the community center with the main building. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go drive by and see the progress. We're slated to be done around November with that project, with the building, the construction of the building and the pool. On current construction of homes, there are 8 homes right now that I'm actively inspecting every week. A couple of those they're in the lot cleared stage. They're about to start construction. In total, out here in Los Arboles, we have 22 homes that have people living in them, are being constructed, or are being finished by the homeowners. And there are 11 that I would call totally complete as far as the physical building. No one's working on the inside, something like that. Currently, Los Arboles Tulum, our company, has a new construction company, and we have 3 homes under construction or starting in addition to the community center. The security measures at Los Arboles, we still have, and have basically since the January meeting a year ago, guards here 24/7, every day of the year. We have 3 guys that rotate this gate. It's typically Miguel, Lau, and a gentleman named Juan. On the back gate, it's just primarily used for construction entrance. It closes at 6 o'clock every day, and it's closed on Sunday. But there's a gentleman named Eric who's been working security with us for years now. He's there daily, and then a gentleman named Jose from Macario Gomez. And 3 of the 5 security guys all live in the neighboring town of Macario. And 2 gentlemen that work this front gate live an hour away, but they stay here during the week. I lack security cameras. It's still on my to-do list at both gates. And those cameras will just record the cars coming in and leaving, and we'll have 2 or 3 months storage on an independent recorder. And that's there to just be one more preventative measure, and so that we have a record in case something was to happen, we could go back and check. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know when, we talked about this last July, about getting cameras in last summer, so since it still hasn't been done.
It's going to be done quickly.
Let me speak to that real quick. We priced out a bunch of units, and then what we found is that the retrieval capability and the storage capability were so inadequate. We drilled down on it. We actually almost left the contract. And then somehow someone at the table said, well, how long do you have the tapes? Oh, it just tapes over, keeps taping over. So really you had about 7 days. And then the other side of it was, then we started looking at the focal power of the lenses and the ability to have focus when it's dim and dark outside, which is probably when you're going to have things that are going wrong. And it was so, we just missed the mark with the local companies here. We have chosen now and are actively bidding through systems in the United States. They're going to be comparable in cost, maybe $1,000 more. This is about a $3,500 project, but we're going to have 3 months capacity, and then we can just pull out the type of storage that they have, and we can just put them on the shelf, and you'll always, from things that happened 2 years ago. So that's been the holdup. It's like we got it done, and then all of a sudden, when we really looked at the details, we were making some bad decisions based on what was given to us.
If we want a camera that, when it's dark, it'll still be able to read, say, the license plate with the headlights, and it's a special camera. Yes, ma'am.
As for the security that you have at the gates, patrolling, what about the security for the homes?
Just like a patrol.
Well, because there's people going into homes, there's other homeowners here that are going into other homes.
Well,
Is there
we can,
security patrol that?
we do, during the day, when we have the 2 guys at the gate, the back gate, Eric, you might see him, if you're around here, he drives a little white hatchback car. Eric does go and patrol. But the fact of the matter is, we have a big development. We could increase our security and have active patrol all the time, but that's going to require an approval from all of you to approve the additional, yeah. And we brought out another person to have his skate
From
20.
my home without my permission. And then
I go to you specifically, I go to your home once a week, and walk
Oh, I
around
know,
and
because
look.
you're doing
But
inspections.
I,
your
but,
job.
but I, with the manpower it would require to make sure that it's huge. It can be done, but I don't know how we can do it with the current team that we have. But if, we're here for y'all. If you want to increase it, then it's something to consider.
Just have a suggestion regarding the cameras. I have an IT background. We could have an on-site storage, but what would be a lot better, because on-site hard drives are gonna crap out. You might be able to store them for 2 years, but they're not gonna retain the information. They'll eventually become corrupt, especially with the humidity. There's online services where we could simply have it download online to a server, backed up redundantly, probably for a quarter of the cost.
Well, that requires internet, which we do not have at the gate, the guard station over
Okay?
there.
Well, didn't you guys say that it had removable media, like this system you're looking at is removable media that you can store, right? In your car, because then it's easy, right?
If y'all would like to store your security films in the sky, we can do that, okay? If that would be better than putting it on a shelf, and I hear a lot of things about corrupting discs and things like that, that's fine. My experience is, in my club in Austin, Texas, is that anything that's gonna come to the foreground or have a problem, it usually happens literally within weeks. You know about a problem and you go back and you start researching. It doesn't matter to us how we do it. I think that's a good point. I think we ought to look at that. In terms of security at your home, we have an extra shift, and during that extra shift, outside of doing administrative logging, because we have complete logs, we know anybody that's in here, what their license plate is, and what their ID looks like. If, maybe they do 2 or 3 hours of that, but then they get on the little Polaris and they just do a drive around.
It's not just at my house, but what I'm saying is that my build isn't done. So if Hawthorne's out there with his crew, and strangers are coming in to look at sales or whatever, and are being given tours of houses that are currently being built,
That only happens if you approve that.
well, I've never approved it, and it's happened on dozens of occasions.
But they went inside.
Then that leaves him and his company responsible, which is not fair.
Okay, I don't, maybe I don't understand something, but I think y'all told me I could take people
You
in there.
can.
I can, and I've done that.
Yeah, and we.
Have you
We're
done that?
talking about other people that have come in.
Why don't you get us a list of who can do that? But y'all are about to move in.
You guys are fun.
Me and Hunter?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, what about Monse?
I'd like to do it too.
You'd like to do it? Everyone in here would like to do it. No one will go into your house except for me and Hunter. What about Monse?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Monse, okay.
I'm just saying if something happens, I don't want it to be his responsibility or his crew's
Somebody hurts
responsibility
himself.
when
Right.
there's strangers just coming and going as they please.
Well, it will be his responsibility if someone gets hurt over there and it's not us. Because if we're over there, I mean,
But
no
if
one's allowed in.
strangers are driving in,
You can't get in here
We
without
don't let people
a
take
purpose. You gotta have a
tours.
purpose.
Okay.
You gotta,
okay,
if you're gonna buy a house here or buy something, then one of us are with you. If you're gonna deliver something specifically to y'all's house, either Hawthorne's gonna have said it's okay or you're gonna say it's okay, otherwise they can't go. You can't do it.
If a walk-in drives in, a walk-in being a potential client, someone comes by, wants information, it happens all the time, we just want to drive around and see. It's like, well, no, this is a private community.
but that has happened, it happened a few weeks ago to our house.
We actually met the person coming out of our driveway.
And I
I wish you
will
would have
say
told me
also,
about this, I didn't.
I've been in my tub and have somebody walk into my bathroom, actually into my master bedroom, 3 people walking into my room. My dogs were ape shit, of course.
Come,
The security is letting them.
No, but the way that my house is designed is you have to walk outside to get into your master bedroom, so you can walk outside and just come up my door in my house. And walk up to my master bedroom. So they just walked in and it was.
So he's been walked into his bathroom. You walked into your house and someone was walking out, you didn't know. Do we have some other things like this happening? Okay, sounds like we need to tighten up security.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what we'll do is let's look at our security regs. Because people, basically, if they're there, they should have something. If you said, who the heck are you? They should go, I'm this person registered here, or I'm your neighbor, or I'm.
And I think that might be part of the issue, because it's not, at this point, all the people that were coming in that basically could just drive through the gate, tell these guys at the front, hey, I am so-and-so. These guys don't know, they don't know, so somebody just comes in. I haven't seen anything like that happen in a long time, to be honest, because these guys know almost all the faces. But what is still happening, and this is just maybe something we put out in the newsletter, but people who are here, who knew, that our owners, who knew that, my house had been the model home, they don't know that it's no longer the model home. And so they come walking in, and they're like, are you Greg's son? I'm like, I wish. I think maybe if just in the next newsletter, we go out and say, listen, this is an issue. These are all private homes, and let's respect everybody else's privacy, and that's it. And I think it's just an issue of that.
I think these are all really good concerns, and I think we need to resolve them. And I think we need.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I think it needs to be resolved. If I was in I'd be really mad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Related to that, with security with workers, like, let's say, solar people, plumbers, stuff like this, especially ones that come on a regular basis for stuff. When they sign in either this gate or the back gate, do they have to say, I'm going today to work at A19, or do they just simply say, hi, I'm Juan, oh yeah, hi Juan, and they give their ID?
On the log, they write down where they're going, whatnot.
Okay.
But that's not to say
But they don't live
this
somewhere
truck
else.
with the name of the company that comes in here and everybody knows it's installed systems here and they're servicing.
Yeah.
We don't follow them to
Isn't
everybody.
that true in any community? I mean, you can't have that kind of vigilance, that kind of
Yeah, but the
police.
difference is, we can't see the houses.
Yeah.
So they can go into a house and you're not gonna know they're there. I mean, if you live in someplace in Florida,
supposed to be a
people
secure
down the street know.
This isn't not Florida.
Jungle.
Somewhere near
Well,
that.
Just have good locks
I
on
think
your doors.
these are all valid
Have good
concerns.
locks on your doors.
I feel safe out here when I stay out here. I think most of the people do. But I do think an abundance of caution would be very, very important. We will review this with Margie. Let's put that on the agenda. Let's look over all the regs, and maybe if we see some loopholes in there, we'll send them out. We're gonna be talking about budget. I can have 10 guys riding around here checking everybody's IDs every 10 minutes. It's a lot of money, though.
I'll tell you what,
So-
all you need is one, people to say no. All you need is one major problem to happen. And then it goes, if only.
Okay?
It's coming up for conversation now, but the possibility of something bad happening is there.
It always is. We
Yeah, I
live in this world.
understand.
As long as there's humans, something bad's gonna be happening everywhere. But let me say this. Let's talk about some advancements we've made.
Yeah.
We now have installed.
I didn't get to that yet.
Okay, well, why don't you tell me about that? 'Cause I think this is big.
We now have, this communication has been tough, we installed like a CB radio in the office, and then we have 5 handheld units. So there's always one here, the main one at the office. It's going to be moved to this little area right here where the guards are, so that there's someone on it 24/7. And then we have the security gates, both have radios. Our maintenance captain has a radio, and then Eric, who rows, he carries a radio as well. And then I always have a radio. Yes.
Just can you say why that's so important? Because I don't think, for me, who I've been, praying for this for years, this to me is one of the biggest leaps forward we've done for everybody's safety, for the security, and for everything in communications. If internet goes down, this is something that cannot be screwed up. And so we have it's just a huge step forward. So congratulations, you guys, for making this happen. But this is really.
But it allowed, just having the instant communication at both points of entry and exit is huge, and with us. And since we've had them, we use them daily, because for you to go find someone in the field, or for us to go, you've got a furniture delivery here. I don't know about it, because y'all didn't tell me. So I don't feel comfortable just letting them go in. So usually I stop what I'm doing and I try to go find someone and say, hey, this is coming in That just happens all the time. Now, I can radio someone in the field, say, hey, we're sending this person back here, can you go over there and check that they are doing what they said they were gonna do? Or go find the
Now, are we
homeowner.
gonna have a chance to,
And
can we
it-
get boxes that will?
Well,
link
you
boxes?
can, if you would like, you can all buy radio.
Okay.
There-
I was just gonna say this,
That would be a
let's
good
make
idea.
an offer, $250,
So,
you can buy them.
Done.
Now, what we would not want is a bunch of chatter between neighbors. But what you can, and you probably don't want to hear a bunch of maintenance chatter, but what I would agree to, and I think would be good for the community, is you take your little unit, you tune it off, and you have a problem, you fall, or you have something going on, or you just want to pick it up and say, hey, I got a furniture delivery day, front gate, and they go, Roger, Roger. I think that would be a good, it's $250. You could always call that man right there in that gate.
Let me ask this, do we have the capacity for multiple channels at this
That
point?
was my question.
No, not right now. It's there, we haven't purchased that infrastructure.
I mean, I'm just gonna add on a little bit. If we're walking in the roads, like, I mean, if there's internet at your house or you have cell phone at your house, that's great, but this gives the ability that if you go on a walk late at night or whatever, that security of being able to call back to the house or to a neighbor or to the front gate or anyway, it's so big. Also, I mean, as a contractor, it's gonna help communications, it's gonna help security, it's gonna help coordination with these guys. And even, you know, if in a hurricane, if you're back way in the back of the property and a tree falls down, you can call up someday and say, hey, listen, we need somebody to come out here with a chainsaw. So all these different things have been resolved by this one issue. And, you know, later when they start ordering pizzas and you say, hey, you know, there's a pizza at the front gate, it can become that, but it's just, it was such a big thing.
They do deliver.
Right now, the radio, the way to,
Taco delivery.
depending where you are, you can walk talkie to talkie. With the density, that changes. You can always talk to the dispatch, the main radio, and then they communicate back. So I'll call the office will talk to someone. You could install boosters and antennas or repeaters at your house or in the community, and then you could have the talk to talk. And we have 5 channels. So you could get on one of those channels and if you wanted to communicate in between yourselves.
Like emergency channels,
Right.
channels that are security, channels that are maintenance, channels
Yeah,
for contractors, and channels for
Before we get
chat.
way too deep into all that, that's a lot. Why don't we do this? Everybody that lives here,
Greg, can you take the mic, please?
everybody that lives here that would like, I mean, our cost is $250. Bring $250 up here, we'll get you a radio. And yeah, if the pizza guy's coming, just real quick, say, the pizza guy coming. That's fine, but you're communicating with this man more from the standpoint of coordination of deliveries and for security. I think it's a good thing for all of us.
Yeah.
So let's do that, and at the next homeowners meeting, let's find out what idiosyncrasies came out of that.
I did, when we installed it, I drove down every road in Los Arboles. I went to the furthest points and walked into the jungle 50 meters, and I could hear the office and I talked, it was crystal clear. The other day I drove to Macario Gomez, going, Monte, can you hear me? Monte, can you hear me? And got all the way to Macario, or might have been Cameron, but we still had service. So they went, that was 8 kilometers down the road.
All right, we'll move on. Yeah.
All right, next.
No kidding.
Okay, maintenance of grounds. So right now, there's a team of 5 people that work for the HOA that are out here Monday through Friday cleaning the roads. That's probably the main thing they do. After a rainstorm, which we've had a lot of recently, this place can just be destroyed with leaf litter and limbs, fallen trees sometimes. So those guys are here on staff to go unclog the roads or clear the roads as soon as possible. We're also checking the registros, which are like the doors to service the water piping that goes throughout the entire community. With rain, those things fill up with water. We pump them out. We repaint the doors. We touch up on gates. We have cleaned the cistern. We'll probably do that once a year. We'll cut off the float switch and let it go down, and once it gets to a pretty low point, go in there with scrubbers and just give it a clean. We've pulled the pump with the water here. That is kind of hard. Sometimes you just want to pull it to inspect it. We'll probably do that every 6 months to a year. But they're here trying to keep the roads in tip-top shape. One more subject on the infrastructure, the heavy rains that we received, actually the first big rain we received in May, allowed us the opportunity to go do another spot check around the community. We've cut in more drains on the Mamposteria, and from what I've gauged, there's still a couple little areas, maybe with hard rain that pull up, but the drainage is moving pretty quickly. If there's a problem somewhere that one of y'all experience, I'd love to hear about it so we can go repair it. That's it for now. Yes, sir.
Do you have a sense of how often the roads are gonna need to be regraded and some sort of?
That's kind of an ongoing process. If there's sinkholes or potholes, we bring the tractor. We have a tractor, a Kubota tractor with a box on the back. We'll go bring, you can probably see on the Avenida right now towards the back gate, there's been some recent fills that we've been coming back and putting the dirt in and going over. But I think that'll just be a, ongoing deal. Yes, sir.
I noticed on the front newer lots, there isn't an obvious water tap in, like the blue pipe for the, where you tap into the municipal water supply.
Mm-hmm.
And is that just because that was the first?
Some of them were marked differently, but every lot has a location where there's a tee off the main line that'll cross the Mamposteria and be installed there. Right now, I believe we have 14 people hooked up to the water system. And I don't want to jump ahead. We're going to talk about water soon.
Let's go in order.
Any other questions about construction, maintenance, security? Yes, ma'am.
What about setting up recycling? I'm just
Okay,
doing that under
good question.
garbage and.
For all of you that don't know, the city comes by and picks up garbage once or twice a week. Our garbage location is at the back gate. Outside of the gate, there's a little rock wall. You can put your garbage there. Inside the gate, we've set up the trash cans that used to be over here in this parking lot for recycling. There is a new recycling center in Tulum, but if y'all could please, just keep plastic and plastic and aluminum, bottles and bottles. And we're trying to keep the construction workers to not touch those barrels. Then the maintenance team will take to Tulum once we have bags of it.
How else does the city pick it up?
The city they come out here weekly.
And there's nothing
Sometimes
for
twice.
paper, so it's plastic, glass.
It's plastic, glass, and aluminum.
Okay.
They pick that up too?
No, sir.
Oh.
The HOA, we take it to town.
Okay.
There's a new recycling center in town, which we talked about last meeting. But it's been hit or miss when they're open or closed.
That's Hunter's bonus. He takes it, cashes it out.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
There's actually a gentleman that's been working this road the last week.
Yeah.
And his trailer just appears to grow and grow
Yeah,
and
yeah.
grow. Now it's, 3 meters long.
An entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so budget. I sent out a copy of the budget for 2013, 2014, and then a breakdown of the largest line items in the budget. Has everybody seen it? Yeah. Does anybody who doesn't actually, if you haven't seen it and you don't have it on a computer or iPad, there are hard copies up here. Do you mind passing that back? Okay, so for 2013, the budgets for those 2 years are going to differ slightly because there are still a number of things that LAT is paying for, which by 2014 will transfer totally over to the Homeowners Association. I'll go through it line by line with you and just so you know what we're talking about here. First of all, the HOA fees for 2013, we're calling $180,978, which is about $4,000 short because we have 4 lot owners at this time who are seriously delinquent and are not responding and haven't paid. So we're not counting that toward revenue for this year, and that's going to be another issue later. We are going to pursue them because it's really becoming an issue. Things that are marked in red are things that we were just able to estimate because we can't really get a hard number, but these numbers are fairly close to where they should be at the end of the year. To see building fee income, we were just able to estimate that because we looked at the number of housing starts in the past year and projected to the end of the year, and we got a lot of valuable information on the survey that you were all sent that can help us better with planning the amount of revenue we can expect to see in a given year. The water tap fee, again, that's estimated based upon the number of hookups that have occurred in the past year and based upon the number of housing starts that we expect to see within the next year. And that's a $400 fee for your meter and for installing the meter and just installing the meter, right? But that's really like a net zero item because there are expenses involved when that's done. So, but we're going to call that revenue. Water infrastructure fee, ignore. We'll talk about that later. And then water meter reading fee, we will also talk about what that is later.
Do all residents will pay these fees?
Pardon me?
Do all residents will pay these fees?
No, because the issue is that you have Con Agua coming to the gate. That's the public utility. And beyond the gate, it's a private utility. All the infrastructure that's been installed in Los Arboles, we're essentially a private water utility beyond this gate. And we get a gross reading on that meter. It's quarterly that we have to pay Con Agua. We get a gross reading on the meter, and then that gross reading is subdivided among the lots of all the people who use water at Los Arboles. So either Hunter or I will go out and read each meter, calculate how much water usage there was.
The only people that paying in here are people who already built a home and living.
Yeah, the only people who are paying this are people who are living here and have their homes connected to the water hookup. Okay? So, we're going to talk more about that later because this is something that the Vigilance Committee has been talking about a lot. So when we get down to expenses, as you see, security salaries and HOA crew salaries are big expenditures. Security salaries, although $47,000 looks like a lot of money, you've got to remember we have 5 guys working full time at that gate, and for a year they're making $47,000. Okay, so that's really not a lot of money for what you get, and these guys are really awesome. They're pretty vigilant and they know all the faces, and I'm understanding now we've had a few breaches, but overall they really do a great job. HOA crew, again, we were talking about, these are the guys who roam the roads, and they there are 5 on it now, and they go cyclically through the whole development, and they clean every street, and that's where you get our beautiful white ribbons of road here because they're being kept so clean. And then meals for crew and security. There's a cart that brings all the workers 1 meal a day, 40 pesos per meal, so that they can eat in the field because they don't have any other way of getting food unless they bring something from home. And, and there are a whole bunch of little items here. Fuels, supplies for the security shack, these are small items. Admin salaries this year, $20,000. This is now being supplemented by LAT because we have 3 people working on administration here. It's Hunter and Monse, who are, taking up a lot of the slack, and now there's me. And next year, these guys won't be here, so the administrative salaries are going to be all in the HOA, so we're going to talk a little bit about that later too. Accounting expenses, we now have a local accountant in Tulum who is handling our peso accounts here. We've just hired him, and we pay him monthly. Road maintenance, whenever there's rain, we're seeing a lot of rivulets being formed in the roads, and every so often, you know, we have a grader that gets dragged out there, and we've got to throw some gravel down and regrade. In the rainy season, it's going to happen a lot more, so we're calling that 4,000. It's an estimate for now. Septic inspections, we have, that's something that's drawn against the building fee income, because everybody, when you start building, you're going to pay an $1,800 building fee. And septic inspections, which have been running, what, Thomas, like 100 and what were you paying?
The test's about 150.
Yeah, so,
US.
right, it's like 150 per test. And according to ProFAPA, which is basically the environmental police force here, you've got to test your water twice a year to stay legal. So, and that, I believe, is ongoing for the life of your property, because we're in such an environmentally sensitive area. So, you know, if they come in and they want to know if we're policing ourselves, it's my feeling that the best thing to do is just throw a lot of data at them, and maybe they'll go away at that point, you know, because, you know, they'll see that we're doing our job. So I think it's really important to stay on top of that. And, you know, so what you're going to have is from your building fee, you're entitled to, and, you know, I think it was 4 inspections will come out of that building fee, and then beyond that, the onus will be on you homeowners to pay for that. We're talking about setting up our own water testing lab here, which would be truly awesome, which will also bring you testing at a lower rate, and it'll be much more efficient, but we'll also talk about that later. You see biologists, that's 0, because right now, to stay up to the expectations of the government, we've had a biologist coming in monthly, and that's being paid for by LAT. That will change next year. So right now, that expense is not something that will count against 2013. And then we have the Capital Recovery Fund. Now what that is, and I know a number of you asked on the survey, what happens if there's a hurricane? What happens if there's damage to the assets at Los Arboles? Well, according to the law, and back me up here, just in case I don't get it right, we have to have a minimum of 4 months expenses in a capital recovery fund in order to cover any damage that's done to the property and repair it. So I didn't hand these out to you, but I worked out budgets through 2018, you know, just very roughly, to see when we could have that fund fully funded without having it hurt too much all at once. And, you know, I calculated we have to have ultimately like $64,000 US in that fund to be funded properly. And I was talking to Greg about this, and he seemed to feel that as long as we could say, here's our plan, we're going to be fully funded by 2018, you know, if we're not quite up to snuff with the number at that any point, if we get looked at, it'll be okay, because at least there's like a plan. And so for this year, because we're getting money from LAT, we're able to have $22,435 surplus, which will carry over into 2014 into the Capital Recovery Fund. So we're well on our way to being funded already. And then there's the nonprofit, and then a fee for HOA meetings, which will be the tacos that you will enjoy when this meeting's over.
What is the nonprofit? $55,000?
Yeah.
What's that about?
The nonprofit.
Okay, we'll talk about that when we get to it. And, okay, so when we get to 2014, you see that the Capital Recovery Fund balance, I know everybody's glazing over, but I just feel it's important to do this. Okay, the Capital Recovery Fund balance is brought over. We have our HOA fees back up to $184,000 because hopefully we'll get some satisfaction from these guys who aren't paying.
But if not, then that's not gonna be the accurate number.
No, it won't, but we're gonna be taking legal action against those guys. So hopefully that will resolve itself within the year. Building fee income, again, this is based on projections, based upon what you guys said in the survey. You know, it's all pretty much self-explanatory. Security salaries, HOA crew salaries has been brought down because it's been discussed that we will be reconfiguring the HOA maintenance crew so that we have fewer guys here full-time, but that, you know, we'll be bringing in some people once or twice a month, paid on a per-task basis, rather than just pay them by the hour. It'll be per task, like a flat fee to just go out and get the whole place completely clean and pick up limbs, et cetera. And, you know, we calculated that that would save us some money. Okay, security residence expenses. We have 2 guys who are going to be living in the security, in the apartment in the back there, and there's electricity, there's food, you know, stuff like that. So that's what that expense is. And then admin salaries, you see now that's up to $49,000. And what we're talking about, this is another issue that will occur further down the agenda, but having 2 people in administration. One of them might be me, it might be whoever you guys decide upon, and then another person full-time. I would be part-time, and then the other person would be full-time, and we're hoping to find somebody local who's like very much integrated into the community, knows how to get stuff done here, and is fluent in both English and Spanish, so, which I think is really important. Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? We're estimating $49,000 US for 2 administrators in Mexico.
Yeah.
I think we should put out an RFP to all the hotel staff, because I think we could get like 6 people down here with qualifications that would do circles around this wage.
Okay, but here's the thing, Les. If you want an administrator here who's got a foot in both worlds, you know, you're going to have to like pay for somebody who can do that. You know?
Can I speak to that?
Uh-huh.
So, anyone that was at our last homeowners meeting sort of witnessed this massive mistrust, aggressiveness towards the developers and me, okay? And it was the most disgraceful thing, in my opinion, that I've ever lived through. And so I sit back and I talk to many of the people here, wonderful people, and say, well, why does that happen? Because I didn't mess with anybody. I didn't think I did. But, so what we found is there's a phenomenon that exists, that when you are a developer, and I talked to a bunch of developers about this, you are automatically the bad guy for everything, and the blame. Which is fine, I don't have a problem with that, but there's a transition that happens. So what we sat down and we did is we said, well, let's just find somebody out here that owns, that has full access to the developer. So we've given Margie, brought her in, and we've given her full access to me to talk about, you know, anything. Greg, you know, did you abscond with all the funds and you're driving a Porsche now or whatever. We talked about everything. Okay, did we not? We did. Yes, okay. And I answered her questions fully, which was a great use of my time, because to do it to each one of y'all individually was way too much time for me. So we've sort of had a good situation now, and when she says a foot in both worlds, so you've got this foot in sort of the world of people who are from the United States or Canada are buying down here and establishing down here, but we also have a foot in the world called, we've all decided to live here. And this is Mexico, yeah. So now what's happening is we're realizing is we need a Mexican national who speaks, as a first language, speaks Spanish, obviously, but also has a good general knowledge of the English language. Now, I want to say something here because this is a philosophy of mine. We have, there are probably at least maybe 20% of the people here, their first language is Spanish. Maybe the rest of us, our first language is English. But we are in Mexico. I foresee at some point in time that we need to be having this meeting, and legally we do, in Spanish. Yeah, and out of respect for the country that we live in.
Yes.
And one of the things that actually I'm going to bring up, I think our next meeting needs to be in Spanish. Everybody who wants to get up for speed and understand what's going on, because we got people sitting here that maybe don't even understand what's going on right now. And it's not really right. We're in this country.
The majority is the other way.
Yeah. But if we all start learning our Spanish, and I know a lot of people are doing it and they're doing an excellent job. I've even had conversations with people in Spanish that's broken his mind. So I guess what we're doing here is now we're taking the next step. We think it's going to take this money, but we don't know what it's going to look like when we come to you the next time. Maybe we're going to have that person like Les just talked about, who, because I can tell you right now that when you start looking at administrators here, they are paid maybe 60% less than what we would expect in the United States to pay. And they do as good a job, if not better. So we need to, we're looking at that. So I guess the number seems high right now, and we've sort of decided on that number through the end of the year, but for next year, we need to try and do better. Because we have to get a search committee, and we need to find out the answer now.
Might be a compromise of one American and one Mexican.
Well, that's what this budget is. This is a part-time administrator and a full-time Mexican.
Well, that's the idea that you communicate with those of us who are in a foreign country, but we need somebody competent, we need somebody educated, we need somebody intelligent. We need someone who can communicate with officials, and if we pay for that person and they do a job well, we should have the money to do this. And I think this is being penny-wise and pound-foolish to try to go bottom-feeding for people that we can pay low wages. To me, it's a philosophically wrong approach. This is not what we're here for. We're not here to take advantage of people. We are here if we need somebody to pay them well and have them do a good
But
job.
also somebody that's efficient, works that well is rare. I mean,
It's rare.
a native
It's
who
rare.
works in the office they're not.
Well, can we all agree though, at this point in time, we're probably not doing it as efficiently as we could, but it's a good transition. But the other side of that is I'm willing to facilitate the process. That I pay these two people back here, Monse and Hunter, as well as my staff in Austin. Patricia is down here from Austin. We're ensuring the process. So I don't know where we're going to land up, but I think these are a lot of good points. Yes?
Just one other thing I'd like to add real quick. We talked about an American and a Mexican. I think that those who have spent some time down here know that it's not just language, it's cultural. And so finding somebody like Hunter, who is an American, is incredibly rare, but I would think that we need to look for two Monses.
Yeah.
Because people who speak both languages excellent, understand both cultures in a great way, but also can understand the way that Mexico works, because it is fun. It's not just language, it's a much bigger thing. And they can help us understand who don't know the culture and don't know things that,
Why both?
Why
both? That's a little redundant though, isn't it? Why do they both have to be that way?
Well, I'm just saying that, I think it's going to be a lot of work. I think if it's going to be two people, it's going to be three people, whatever it's going to take, because at this point, one of the questions, or one of the things that I think we'll find out when we see the results of the survey is what that person's going to do, because certainly Greg had one person and ended up, that I know of, how many people? 6 at some point working at the same time. It's a huge task, and things that should be easy, like getting gas delivered to your house, is not easy. And so we have to see what that's gonna take and how many people that's gonna be. So if it's 1 or if it's 4, it all depends on where our budget's gonna be, but finding good people, is not easy.
Well, and one thing that everyone needs to understand is that later on in this meeting, we're going to put together a committee that is going to do the search for that one person or those 2 people to look at this budget item. So that's coming. So I think they'll take all of your input. But we are being well managed right now, in my opinion. So.
Okay, so, community center maintenance, we have a fee there now because if our HOA crew is cut back, we'll need to bring some folks in to take care of the pool, etc. Road maintenance we talked about. Biologists now, we're calling that $3,000, that's an estimate. We're gonna still need to bring a biologist in periodically to do checks and keep the paperwork up because we need to have that on file just in case we have Profepa come in and, you know, if they wanna see what's up, they've gotta have something to look at. Capital Recovery Fund now is being prorated to get us to our target by 2018, we're looking at $10,452 right there. Everything else self-explanatory. And then if you go to the last 2 pages, you have a breakdown of the large line items on there. And I won't bore you.
Will it be higher HOA fees for people who have houses built and live in? Than
No.
opposed to
No.
people who cover land?
Eventually, I would assume there would be, but not right now.
Okay, next is Antonella.
Well, do we need a motion or anything?
On the budget, on approving the budget, sure. We need a motion to approve the budget for 2013.
The question is how much for per lot is the maintenance fee? Remains as it is right
It's
now?
going to remain as is.
Okay.
Yes,
So I
so
have
the HOA dues will remain at $834 a year for the next
834
for
per year.
per year for 2013 and 2014. There will be no raise.
All 2014.
Yes, correct?
14.
One question.
That's, wait a minute.
1-4.
To my way of thinking, we have already passed a budget for 2013. We did that before. Yes. And the good news is we're sticking to our budget. Okay? Now, we are proposing a budget for 2014 that does not have a dues increase. It's the same budget, essentially. Some things are moving around a little bit because we're getting a little bit more efficient in some areas and we're being more spendy in other areas. But it's a balanced budget based on $834 a month. Keep in mind that every lot, a year. Well, that'll be the new increase.
Next year.
Yeah. Keep in mind that every lot is paying $834, so you have a full budget. If I own a lot, I'm paying, if I own 50 lots, I'm paying $834 per lot. So we got a full budget right now. We decided that at the last meeting. So I think the vote would be, if you're interested in passing this budget the way it stands for 2014 that she just presented to you, the only alternate you have is to say, no, we think we want to spend more on security things and propose from the floor a budget increase and a dues increase.
And for those of you who mentioned that you'd like to see more security, if we have more security, there's going to be a raise in dues. So that's something to take into consideration. Motion to approve 2014 budget.
I so move.
Okay, second?
Second.
Any opposed? Passed. Okay, all right. Nella's next.
Can I ask a question real quick on revisiting the language? He was saying that there are,
Got a question?
yeah, the language, he was saying that there are, let's say, 5 couples in here who are not understanding the meeting because of the language barrier.
Right.
My question is, what are we doing for those people? Is there a transcript for them? And more importantly, I'm looking ahead, if it is going to Spanish and we don't know Spanish, then what we'll be doing for us so that we know, I mean,
Well, when we
what
do
transcript,
minutes,
what,
we will release minutes to this meeting, and there will be a Spanish translation of the minutes.
okay, but sometimes that's after the fact. For
Yes.
example, we just voted, and those 5 couples who don't know English, how do they know what they're voting for?
Well, there's nobody that doesn't know when we ask them.
Well, why don't you repeat, why don't you ask them in Spanish? Anyone
And then
here?
just in future, because I think it will affect a lot more in the future when it's all in Spanish, there may not be fluent Spanish speakers in 6 months if I'm just gonna start learning tomorrow, you know? So it just need, you just need to be looking ahead on how is that
In a
gonna be
lot of
covered.
condominiums like this, what they have is a translator. That, so it's an expense, but then everybody has a little.
That's what I do. I have a translator, a live translator, and just have people mic'd up and people hearing it so they can hear it that way.
So
that way-
you know the cost approximately?
I don't, I do have a friend that has a unit that, you know, that you can talk live into the earphones and broadcast to people listening. So a person sits up front and would be, you know, somebody would be presenting in English and the other person would be translating in Spanish.
They have a little cabin and they.
Yeah, right.
Sí.
Now, the reason I say that is I'm concerned that if it's all in Spanish, I mean, I speak Spanish, I'm fine to hear it in Spanish. So I'm afraid your attendance will go down. I mean, if people come in, they can't understand.
That's for another
It's another
time.
time.
We just have, would you explain in Spanish what the vote was about?
Ok, se explicó el presupuesto, se presentó el presupuesto. El presupuesto se presentó, ese es el mismo que se presentó en enero, que fue aprobado. Se mantienen las cuotas condominales en $834 al año por lote. Se mantiene ese número como la cuota condominal para 2013. Simplemente se ratifica que no se han pasado, se siguen manteniendo ese presupuesto y se prevé que para 2014 mantengan esos gastos y por lo tanto se mantenga esa cuota condominal de $834 al año. ¿Alguien se opone a la aprobación de este presupuesto? Somebody is against this.
No.
¿Está bien con ustedes? O sea, se explicó el presupuesto. 834. It had a lot to be because of the transition, no? So it was like, for this budget, you reviewed numbers and all of that, and that's why you had so many meetings and stuff. Yeah.
Hey, Greg.
Okay.
Greg, I have a question. Did you, just clarification, did you say part of this is a transition from you and your team over to other people,
Things
correct?
that you're paying for eventually.
And do we know what cost those things are? In other words, is that going to be over the next year or 2 years, or what, is it 2014?
So this is actually the next item, is to ratify the Civil Association of Condóminos Los Árboles Plumas de Manager, and then I guess you
I mean, my
should
question would
explain
be,
that.
is there going to be a need potentially to raise these dues for things that you're doing now that we're going to all of a sudden next year have expensive we don't have enough money for?
No, not.
Very good question.
Not for next year.
Very good question.
But I guess my question would be.
I'd love to answer it. I know.
Do you start next year knowing that you're going to have some additional expenses and create a part of a fund?
I'm gonna take the words out of Antonella's mouth for what she's about to do. We're gonna do this in Spanish and English. I would like to put a motion on the floor to retain Greg Schneer's company, LAT de SAV, as the administrator for 2014. Say that in Spanish. No, wait, we're gonna do it in Spanish too.
That's not in the agenda. No, but
Well, we have to do this, it is in this agenda.
Ok, sí, es una, se presenta la moción para aprobar que se mantenga, because it's ratifying, ¿no?
Sí.
It's keeping it, se mantenga la Asociación Civil Los Árboles, Condóminos Los Árboles Tulum como el administrador.
In answer to your question, which should be discussion, I presently pay all of Monse's salary, all of Hunter's salary, all of Angela's salary, and all of Patricia's salary, and all of my salary too. And we offer our services freely and openly to help the administrator at all times.
Respecto a los gastos, que fue la pregunta, el equipo de Greg es Monse, Hunter y Patricia, incluido Greg, está siendo financiado o cubierto los gastos por los árboles Tulum para cumplir con la transición, con la fase de transición y las preguntas y lo que se requiera.
It's my opinion that by the end of 2014, the administrators that you are paying will be fully capable and fully trained to do the entire job themselves, and they will not need these people, and these people won't be here.
Que su opinión es que para finales de 2014 las personas que ahora se están entrenando para encargarse de la administración ya estén al 100% listas para tomar la administración y entonces no se requieran el gasto adicional.
It's very...
No, they're going to be.
No, they're not going to be here. You're not going to need them. In my opinion, for your investment and my investment, I mean, I went over with a marketing group that came out of the United States, a very powerful group that I've been talking to about different things, and we went and reviewed Aldea Zama. Aldea Zama will have a bunch of condos, and they won't have any residences. It's written all over the wall. What will happen is an area like that will do like most developments have done, and they will go into demise because the developer left them and took all their money and got out. They'll flatten out like Serenas. You want to buy cheap lots? Go to Serenas. They originally sold for 85 to 120. You can buy them now for 60. I don't know when Serenas is going to come back alive. But it was my intention for that to never happen here, and I will not let it happen. I did not sell on a high investor base. If you look at your survey, you will see that I think 76% of the people said, no, I'm going to live here. So it's my intention, whatever it takes at my cost, to make sure that things operate very, very smoothly. Let's say that in Spanish.
En summary, ¿no? Bueno, Greg investigó en otros condominios similares en donde el desarrollador, después de cierto tiempo, ya, de hecho, I have to add, por ley, el desarrollador debe aparecer un año más, ¿no? La intención de Greg es seguir aquí hasta que la transición se concluya y tengan una administración correcta y no demeriten el valor de los lotes o de las propiedades que tienen ustedes.
Creo que es más fácil. Greg quiere pagar para todo.
No.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, what I don't understand is I understand that the administrators can transition, the new ones, can transition into knowledge. But what about the legal things that need to happen? I mean,
No, wait. You have right now a civil association. It was formed, and basically there's the control of Greg there. You have to have a, point number one, you are the owners. You are who decide who manages, right?
Correct.
From the beginning, as a developer, the developer has an obligation to put who's gonna manage, and the law says the first year the developer should manage. It's been more than that, because the idea is to keep a standard and to maintain the quality and the idea of this development could stay, no, could become, no, not living.
Okay.
Right now you have this association. What you guys will have to decide if Margie's coming in, she takes on the association. The association is an entity. You can form it with whomever you want to be inside. It's just the entity, but at the end is a day-to-day basis of who you see, who you talk with, who makes those numbers, etc. That it's going to be somebody you're going to pay. See?
Yeah.
So it's, you put the codes you want, an individual or an entity. And that's what they're checking. Fiscally also, what is the best, what is the less expensive, etc.
All I'm saying is that's gonna take money.
But that's already happening.
Right.
Yeah, I'm paying
Because
for
they
it.
are already meeting.
Right, but in a year, it's not gonna be you paying for it anymore. And so what I'm saying is there,
Well, it's a salary you were discussing earlier.
What I just said.
And the homeowners do, it's just, do we collect them, you know?
No,
Great.
really, no, your question is that I'm not charging for the extra time.
that's right.
I think the efficiencies and the way we set up the systems, being very efficient, will be able to be handled, and that cost will not need to be there. And that the administrative salaries will be able to handle that. But I don't think that's till the end of 2014. In my area. Yes.
I think
I
that's
just
great.
had a question to the homeownership fees. The way I understand it, that everybody who owns a lot, whether it's finance, whether they want to ever live here, or whether they just bought it as an investment, has to pay the $800 or $840. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, because I bought in March and I never received a bill. And neither did the other people that bought the lot next to me.
Okay, well, can we get some bills out to them right
That could be
It's
fixed.
fine with me, but, I don't want to end up with one like
And it's not very efficient.
I don't know why that would have happened, but thank you for letting us know, and I'll make sure. But every lot is paying.
So even
So
if
if
they
you
don't
haven't got a
want
bill-
to just as an investment, they still have to pay the $800?
$834 a year, yes, yeah.
If you want your investment to be worth anything, you need to pay $834.
So we have a motion on the table. More discussion?
The only thing I just wanted to maybe make the understanding of what we're choosing or not choosing. What we're not choosing, and voy a traducir eso un momento, we can either, you're offering, or I think you're offering, to continue for another year, 2014, all the way through end of 2014.
Yes.
The option is to not have them do that, and yeah, and who? No, es like simplemente que it's important to understand that if it's to me it's obvious. What's the alternative? There is no alternative, because although she's doing an awesome job and taking this on, it's a humongous task. We're not ready to do it yet, so.
Yeah, you probably ought to take my offer.
Yeah, why would
Before I have to think through it too much. Maybe I don't want to do it.
Simplemente lo que estoy diciendo que simplemente que estamos en el punto de hacer una decisión, pero el decisión es él va a seguir como responsable por todo y también en cierto manera financieramente, porque mucha de la gente que están aquí también está pagando su dinero. La opción es que, y estoy diciendo que simplemente, aunque ella ha avanzado mucho en aceptar y aprender lo que es necesario, todavía no estamos listos para tomar responsabilidad. Entonces, si él quiere ofrecer, si él tiene la lana, adelante, pero tenemos que poner las pilas para continuar.
Well, let's be clear. sometime before the end of the year, in cooperation with the Vigilance Committee, I, as the administrator, am going to work with them to get them in a get y'all in a situation that will be lasting and good forever. We're working on that. But
I think Greg is showing how great a developer you really are. You know, honestly, most developers abandon. They do. I mean, I'm not saying that to kiss up either. You know, I'm just saying most developers, as soon as they made some bucks, it's like, see you later. You know.
thank you very much for saying that. But we want a good. I mean, all of our interests are the same.
So the
motion?
I'm sorry, one more question. How many lots are here that are not built on?
That are not built on.
all
it would be-
represented here, you say?
Well, just in, I guess there's 22 homes right now, and there's 100 not. So 200 not. So I guess the thing, my thought process is, you've got a whole team here that I know Hunter goes in and inspects, and so I mean they're working. You leave in 2014 at the end, and then let's say 40 or 50 homes that year decide to be built. What we're saying are those two people, Margie and this other person, will be doing the inspections and trying to run and trying.
Required people to do that.
Yes, they'll do a great job, and we'll have them real trained. Yes.
It's a transition of the
So each
management.
year you would just have to figure out, we can't, those two people can't do it all, we've
Well,
got to
every time
hire.
a home is built, they give us $1,800. So if 40 homes go to be built, we got $80,000. If you need to hire just a solamente inspector, then that's what you do.
And I should also add that one of my skills is that I'm trained as an architect, so I know how to read a plan, and I know what I'm looking at when I look at these things.
It's just a little scary for the ones who haven't built yet to hear you're leaving,
I'm not,
and yet we
I'll
haven't
never
built
leave
yet.
you.
I'll never leave you.
Right.
He's
That's what
married
I'll
to
say
the
to
project.
you.
I'm gonna build your house though.
Yeah, I think Mark's question, if I may, had to do with a process for being able to plan for the future in a way to, as we go along, get the budget, see how realistic it is.
So, yeah,
those
make some,
kinds of things.
exactly, make some projections on that. I know it's here for, I wasn't saying to not have you do that. What I'm saying is, there's an opportunity, we're leaving the dudes, I'm not, I'm just throwing this out there for conversation. You're leaving the dues the same level, but you're moving some things around budget-wise, and you're potentially going to be increasing costs at some point. So it makes sense, as a business owner, you project out things and you do things to budget in anticipation of things that you know are going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And so that was my only concern about your, you know,
You're right.
it's not a big, you know, is it better to raise dues $300 or $400 at one point, or is it better to start creating some ability for yourselves to create some options? If you don't use the money, it's there to help offset the cost that may be twice what you think it is the next year when you have to raise dues. You know, I'm just throwing it out as a conversation because to me that would make sense to have some thought around it.
I think that's very astute. I cannot imagine for 2015 that we will be able to maintain this level of dues. I can't imagine that. Everywhere we
They
look.
always go up.
So there is going to be a dues increase in 2015, whether we attack that today or next year at mid-year or when we're going to attack it.
Don't you think we'll have a better look at it going through 14?
Yeah, we gotta get.
I think that's the nice thing, we'll get through 14 and then we'll really know more clearly what we'll need for 15.
Yeah.
Because we really, this is kind of, this last year, we've been trying to figure it out.
Okay, so the motion, nobody is against ratifying Condominios Los Árboles Tulum AC as the administrator.
All in favor?